Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up for the Shannons Club, Kenworth Trucks Australia, Pace Farm Eggs, and Holden Certified Service AC Delco Parts.
Welcome back, Fletch here, USA 2024. Big thanks to Shannons. This episode is going to be a little bit exciting purely from the angle that I don't know what I'm in for. All I know at this stage, a lot of old cars parked up in the woods, and apparently the owner is a really nice guy, so I'm very keen to get to this next location here in White, Georgia, and see what unravels in front of us for today's episode. I'm standing outside a place of mystique, and why is my voice so low? Well, probably because it's just a quiet place. And the only reason my voice is low is because of the volume that it's at. This is in White, Georgia, and welcome to Old Car City, USA. A classic car graveyard. These cars saw the heyday of being brand new and leaving their dealerships. A proud buyer driving away in their new car. The gleaming chrome and fancy paint. Brand new interiors. The smell of the ones with leather. Opening up a new world in motordome. From sitting in city traffic to high speeds on the highways, freeways, and the turnpikes, running in freezing winters and coping with extreme summers. The cars that went to salesmen, government department cars, a relative's car, mum and dad's car, the man down the street. Whoever and wherever these cars were bought, they all represent history. They all could tell stories if they could speak. These cars have a soul. A time when the dealerships would paper up their showrooms before the new car release out of sight to the public. A time when neighbours would run across the street to see the new car. A time when the new car really meant so much to so many people, car lovers or not. And here they sit, resting, tired from their motoring existence, worn out and sidestepped by the restorers. These are true survivors, but at a different level. Some are at one with the trees. Some are making wonderful planter boxes. As time goes by, nature is doing its best at reclaiming. This is where history, nature, and photography meet. At Old Car City, USA, over 6 miles of trails and more than 4,000 classic cars nestled in a beautiful forested landscape awaits you. This is their story.
My mother and daddy bought, I believe it was 25 acres here. The highway came through it, and this is a federal road as well as a state road. And so that's why I guess they opened up the general store here, and they lived in the back. And my den at home now is bigger than that store or the home they had. But the Depression time, no money, so they started buying old junk cars, selling the wheels, tires, carburetor, whatever, and then they got into the junkyard business. And so they outgrew the area there on that side and started moving over here So we still got cars out here that they put over there over 77 years ago that hadn't been touched. 20 years ago, I had property come up for sale joining me in the back because it was out of room here for cars. I had cars almost running down the road. So it happened at the right time. I bought that 26 acres, and now I've almost got it full. In the 70s, they still had the cars, but they wasn't selling parts anymore, putting all the time in the general store. So I opened it back up in the 70s, and then I added like 4,200 cars to it, 1972s and older, almost all American. And so I opened up, sold parts up to about 12, 14 years ago. And then photography got good here, and it got even better than selling the parts. So we quit selling parts, and now people come from literally all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, everywhere, looking at Old Car City. The cars on the wall. I've never bought any Hot Wheels in my life until some lady a year ago came in and gave me a little cup of Hot Wheels. I had an area on the wall here, didn't have anything on it, so I compound them on there. I don't say glue because glue will ruin them. I put sheetrock compound, stuck them. Now I can take them off and clean them. So I did that, and then I liked it, so I got to buying more and more. Got on the internet buying 800 or 1,000. I bought one time 5,000. When I'd get them, I'd stick them on the wall. It took all last winter to stick all these on the wall. This place is really my life. I was born in the junkyard. I've lived in the junkyard, I've worked in the junkyard, and I still live in the junkyard. So this, somebody invited me to go to Australia or Hawaii, whatever, I probably would be there 1 or 2 days, want to come back to the junkyard. Yeah, it's been my life, junkyard has been my life.
Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannons understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannons. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Your story began in 1971. It's part of an endless tapestry that tells the story of our nation. It connects innovators to artisans, forests to houses, from the largest of operations to the smallest of outcomes. It's heritage. It's a legacy.
And wood? You restore a classic? Perhaps you're after some laid-up insurance cover. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And for more information, visit shannons.com.au. Inside Old Car City, USA, here in White, Georgia. Dean Lewis, how are you, sir?
Good, Fletch. How are you?
I'm great. How do you love being here every day of the week?
This is the only place to be. The only place. Yep, this is my home. Born here, worked here, live here.
Well, as soon as you walk through the door, I'm stuck for words already. No matter where you look, actually, wherever you look, there's a story.
Yes, it is.
This kind of started a little bit later in life for you, didn't it?
Yeah. I really went into the junk business in the early 70s. I kind of opened up my mother and daddy's old junkyard.
Yeah. And obviously they did okay over the years out of the junkyard. They did all right.
They did okay. Had plenty of food, clothing, and shelter. Yeah. Nobody made much money then, but if you had food, clothing, shelter, you were lucky.
Well, you're doing okay today. Turns up here at the junkyard. He lives in the junkyard. Wears the beach shirt each day. Doesn't get much nicer than that, right?
Right. This is where I want to be.
Dean, the cars outside, nothing is for sale. That's correct?
Nothing outside is for sale. The only thing we sell is souvenirs there in this area here and over there. And we most of the stuff is made here, except T-shirts we have them made, and and we make the board, the paintings. Yeah. Some of them's wood, some of them metal. We do about everything here on about I always sell.
And I can understand that too, because, you know, you still got to make ends meet, you still got to pay the bills. Yeah. And I can certainly appreciate out the back, you don't want to go selling the junk outside and the cars outside, because if you started selling all that, well, there
wouldn't be Old Car City.
There'd be nothing to look at.
You know, if I sold them, wouldn't be here, and people couldn't come and see old cars.
Yeah. You've got a massive cup art collection. Tell us about that.
Cup art started like 44 years ago when I went to have my annual physical. The doctor took me in the back room and said, quit smoking. I quit smoking. He told me why. And so the next morning I went and got a cup of coffee. Never drank coffee. And I got into the gold cup. I'd sip on it all day. It helped me on my smoking. Well, I doodle every day on my paperwork here. Every day I doodle. So I never doodle on the paper no more. All the doodling's on my cups, and that's how they came up. I'm hoping there's 8,000 up there.
So again, how many acres out the back, and how many cars approximately do you have?
The cars are on approximately 32, 34 acres. Should be around 42 or 4,400 cars, all American, 1972s and older.
We've gone through one of the doors. We're now outside. We're in the, I guess, the first section. What can you tell us about Old Car City at this point, Dean?
Well, a lot to tell you, Fletch, but anyway, that, of course, the 59 Cadillac, you know, it's one of America's most popular cars with the fins and all of that. And my mother bought that car in 1975, new at a local dealership down here. I think then it was like $5,400. And she passed away several years ago. And of course, that is one of my favorite cars I have is that 1975.
All right, Dean, what's the story of the Mac here?
Okay, the Mac. I've had it several years. It's a 1941 Mac. It's a milk truck. Its truck's been restored, but it's set outside by the previous owner and faded and all. But this truck has more pictures taken of it than any unit I have.
Now, Dean, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is the sort of place that we all want to come and see. It's mysterious. We don't know what is in a place like this until we get here. It's the years and years of collection from an individual such as yourself. It's a credit to you. I hope everything goes well for you in the future as well, Dean.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
This is very different. This is an atmosphere that I haven't quite experienced before. Out the back here, to me, this is where this really ramps up. Out in the woods here, the cars you're about to see are the ones that Dean's parents put there over 70 years ago. Just think about that. They're still here. It's amazing. There's a sense of eeriness as you walk through here too. What an incredible place. This is the stuff you have to do on your road trips when you do the United States.
These trails stretch out 7 miles when you measure them out. And they zigzag. And they're very good trails, worn over time. There's no telling how many thousands of guests have ventured through here, stamping down these trails. 40 to 50 years ago, there wasn't a tree in here. It was all just open land with these cars scattered among it, and it was an active auto salvage junkyard.
So Dean had to go and do some things. We've got his son Jeff here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Fletch. How are you?
Good. This is incredible. Like you mentioned in the car, this was just a vacant property, say 50 years ago, and all the trees have just grown in that time.
Well, that's right. At least 50 years ago, this was a very active junkyard where we pulled parts for other cars to be repaired, restored, or whatever. And there was no trees out here because it was too busy. There's too much activity going on out here. It stamped out every vegetation.
Every vehicle here, Jeff, no placement directly. Nothing is strategically positioned. It just seems to be they've just come in and, just parked up.
That's right. The only logic that it may fit would be Dean's mind, and no one can really figure out how that logic works necessarily. It's only he that can figure that out. So to the extent that there's any organization, it's all in his head. We don't know it. Get you.
Yeah.
That's one of our other critters out here, the mosquitoes.
They don't mess around, do they, Jeff?
No, they're big and vicious. It's our state bird.
When I was a kid, I loved cars. Still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network.
This hut behind us, what's the deal there?
So I'm not quite sure how many years ago, but he wanted an attraction out here, a feature attraction. And so he builds this structure that he calls the Ark, as in Noah's Ark.
It's a beautiful place, Jeff.
Oh, well, yeah, we have a lot of fun out here.
It's almost like, this is Bob's country bunker and this here's my place.
That's exactly right. You couldn't have said it any better. You couldn't have said it any better. So he has this, and it's the front part of the Ark bobbing up out of the flood, if you will. And I try to get him to stage some old cars on it, like that's what this Ark is saving, these old cars, but I don't know if it's incomplete or complete at this point.
That flood, that's not going to come back, is it?
I hope not. It was promised not to.
Wow. I look down there, there's just cars piled up on top of cars as well.
Oh, yeah, and you'll see a lot more of that. I don't know if Dean mentioned to you, but there's roughly 4,500 old cars out here on 40 acres of ground, and these trails represent 7 miles of trail. It's big. If we were walking it, it would take some time to cover, and if you wanted to actually look at every 10th car or something, it would take you probably a few days.
Has anyone ever come in here and said, oh, that was my grandfather's car, or I can remember that vehicle?
Oh, we've had stories like that all the time. People said, this was my first car, this was my parents' first car. We've even had some to confess they were conceived in a car like that.
Quite possibly. And unfortunately, because of the rust in most, they're lightweight units now, aren't they?
Well, for the most part, they're lighter than they normally would have been in their day, but they're still 100% heavy metal. And the other good thing about this environment here, this is a pretty easy environment on these cars. The rust has a less effect here because of our environmental conditions here.
You don't get a lot of snow here, not a lot of ice on the roads, right?
We don't get a lot of snow, so that's not a factor, and the humidity helps prevent some of the rust. It's not like if it was in proximity to an ocean, you have that salt air that would corrode. But there's just enough rust to come in and really give what we call a patina, or a really good look to many of these cars, and that's what really attracts a lot of visitors, particularly photographers that like to come out here.
Well, Jeff, we've walked about maybe 200, 300 feet. We've got ourselves a major intersection going on here.
Well, we do, and this is one of many intersections out here that we will come across. And I don't know of a particular rhyme or reason to it, but it's just where, this car landed here, that one landed there, so this is a good way to transition.
It's amazing looking around here. There's a beautiful 68 GT Ford over there. There's a Ford Capri, a Mustang here in front of us. Just over there on the right, we've got a Datsun or a Nissan, a Z car, what's left of it.
We don't necessarily call this a car graveyard. It's just a retirement home for these cars, because they are still producing satisfaction among a lot of car enthusiasts.
See, this is the retirement home you'd want to be in, because the residents here, they don't pay a levy.
That's right. They don't. They just exist out here, bringing satisfaction and joy to those who would like to see it. And there's less and less of these old cars every year.
So Jeff, we're at the intersection here. If we took off in that direction, or if we took off in that direction and we just like walked for 20 minutes, I mean, how far in time could we walk before, well, the paddock ran out?
So it depends on your pace, that what you like to look at and how long you want to stare at it. So there's much more distance in that direction, and it can take some people several days to get that far. Although if you ran it, you could run it fairly quickly, but if you actually stopped and took in what's out here, it will take several days. That way is a little shorter distance, but it could take a day to really scope things out.
That's way shorter. Just to walk for a day. That's much shorter, Jeff, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. We have people here all the time, and they spend. I think the longer, we had one guy spend a week or 2 weeks out here. Wow! Come here every day from opening to close and spent weeks. And
did you see that guy again, Jeff? Did he come back out?
I saw him once, so I assume he made it out every day and stuff. So, but he enjoyed it. I think he touched every car out here, but it took that long. I don't know what we call this street. The names change every year depending on Dean's mood. But we're riding around just seeing more junk cars, or classic junk cars, in this yard. So Fletch, I have to really pick my roads carefully out here, because some of these roads aren't really conducive for a vehicle. We have to be very careful. They're walking only, or legged creatures only, not wheels. Sometimes this is a guess to see which road actually is going to allow me through it.
Yeah. I reckon sometimes you might even snooky yourself, Jeff.
Yeah, I've got myself trapped a few times. I mainly walk these trails. There's another car that's mine right there. It's that 71 International Travelall. It's a great vehicle, and I love SUVs. So Fletch, one thing I thought we should do with some folks out here, just blindfold them at night, set them right in the middle of this field, give them a flashlight and a 6-pack of beer, and turn them loose. This is the very front part of the junkyard. We have some of the really popular items out here. We even have a car I'm about to show you that CBS Morning News dubbed as the 2-ton flower pot. And there's literally a tree growing right up through the hood where the motor should be.
Mosquitoes are out too. You can put this stuff on. When the locals tell you to put some of this stuff on, they mean it. Oh. How's those skeeters going, Jeff?
Fletch, they're having a smorgasbord out here. I'm just a great buffet for these mosquitoes.
You're not even used to them, right?
Oh, I'm used to them, but you never get used to them, even though you're used to them.
Hey, Jeff, look, thank you very much for filling in for your dad. He had some things to do this afternoon, and we're very appreciative of his time. And thanks for dropping by and driving us around just part of the property. I say this a lot in Classic Restos because it's the truth. Some of these places are just so vast, an episode cannot cover it, but it gives you an idea. It gives the people an idea, just a little bit of an idea of what is here.
Fletch, you're right, and we're so grateful that you guys came out here today to take this back to Australia with you. It's our pleasure to present this through your medium. So we're very grateful. But yeah, you're right. This is a tapestry, an outdoor tapestry of old cars. There's over 4,000 on 40 acres, and we're just happy to show it.
I think that's a Classic Restos record. I think that amount of ground representing or holding that amount of vehicles, I think, yeah, that's up there.
Oh, it is. And it's the largest classic car junkyard in the world as far as we can tell.
And multi-brand too, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course, multi-brand. You're right.
All right, Jeff. Well, thank you very much for your time. You could just stay here. You could stay here for days. This road trip across part of the United States for 2024. Of course, a big thanks to Shannons, and it's on an itinerary, and you do your map and you allocate yourself so much time in each place, and you got to get in and film and get out again. But it's been fantastic, Jeff. I thank you.
The pleasure's been ours. Thank you, Fletch.
How brilliant is the southern hospitality in these parts? Technically today the place was closed. Dean came in and opened up, then Jeff came in later to help us produce this very special episode of Classic Restos as we cross a part of the United States for 2024, and of course it's a big thanks to Shannons. You've seen just some of Old Car City, USA, here in White, Georgia. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's going to be more content from the United States coming your way on next week's show. Until then, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up for the Shannons Club, Kenworth Trucks Australia, Pace Farm Eggs, and Holden Certified Service AC Delco Parts.